This is America's Voice, and you're listening to Mike Manchin and Don Crowley. Don is running for sheriff up in Shannon County. He's currently the chief of police in Winona, and he's looking to make a difference and a change up there. And judging from what I've heard so far, I'm liking what I hear. So we've got a caller on the line, I believe, right? And come on into the room, caller.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, my name's Jerry. I travel a lot, and I camp a lot in the Ozarks, and I have a sidearm.
Okay.
Now, when I travel, as I understand it, I need to lay that pistol over in my seat, that if I get stopped, that officer has to see that pistol in that seat. Is that correct?
I don't believe it is, but I'm going to let the horse's mouth answer that one because he's in law enforcement and I'm not.
Okay.
Go ahead, Don.
Well, Jerry, I'm a firearms instructor as well as a law enforcement officer. I'm a member of a small cadre of people that teach firearms here in the Ozarks. Missouri state law says that you can have that weapon concealed on your person or in your vehicle and on your person at any time, that you do not have to, as long as you're traveling peaceably through the state.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be in plain view. It doesn't have to be unloaded. It can be concealed on your person while you're in your vehicle, or in your vehicle concealed without a CCW. You do not have to have a concealed carry permit to have that weapon concealed in your vehicle.
Okay.
Do you have a concealed carry, caller?
No, I would like to take that class. As I understand that if I take the class, I am able to carry it in other states. That's what I'm aware of.
Yeah, there's a couple of websites out there that will tell you what states offer reciprocity. Not every state will honor a CCW from Missouri, and so what you want to do is go out there and do a little bit of homework on that to find out what states do honor your CCW from this state.
Okay.
That was the premise, by the way, behind that national bill that has not made it through yet, which is that, once you have a CCW, it should be honored in all states, much like a driver's license. I would encourage you to go get your CCW, and I would encourage everyone listening to go get a CCW. I don't even care if you don't want to carry a gun. The point of having a CCW is, one, that it gives you the right to carry one, which you have anyway, but all you're really doing is is making a public statement about it. And, I hear so many people call in here and say, wow, it's only my vote, it doesn't count. Guess what? That is a vote. It's a vote in a different way, and it's a vote that you don't have to wait until November to cast.
Right.
So, but caller, I would encourage you to go get your CCW, number one, and number two, to follow Mr. Crowley's advice in reference to what you can and cannot do. Do you not live in Missouri?
I do. My address is in Missouri. I do travel a lot.
I got you.
I'm currently camping out in and around Shannon County, and I was always concerned that if an officer came up and started talking to me, and I'm sitting in my truck, or he's pulled me over for speeding or whatever, which I don't do, but should I tell him when he walks up that I do have a firearm?
Well, Jerry, it's always a good idea not to surprise a law enforcement officer with the presence of a firearm.
Right.
Under our CCW law, it states that if you are a CCW holder, that you're required upon contact with law enforcement that you notify him immediately that you do have a weapon in the vehicle.
Okay.
So it's always a good idea. Now, in our classes, we advocate that don't say, "Hey, I've got a gun."
Right.
That's never a good thing.
Right.
But you can, if you are a CCW holder, if you hand your CCW license along with your driver's license to the officer, that's notification.
Right.
And if you keep your hands on the steering wheel when he approaches the vehicle and notify him in a very relaxed manner that you are in possession of a firearm and it's in the cab with you, I don't think you're going to have any problems.
Sure. That just sounds like a common sense approach, and that's what I thought.
Sure.
So
Just use common sense about it. When he walks up to the car, after you give him your paperwork, you might say, just a note, but I happen to be in possession of a firearm.
Exactly. All right. Well, that answers it, and I do appreciate it, and I enjoy your show.
Well, thanks very much. We appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.
Well, that was an interesting question and a valid one. I think a lot of people are concerned about what the rules actually are, especially regarding carrying in a vehicle. And if you don't already have a CCW, if you have a CCW, pretty much, whether you're in the car or out of the car, you're entitled to have it. The question is, if you don't have one, what are the rules? And I think a lot of people don't know that, and there's no real easy place to go look it up either. So, it's important for people to recognize what their rights are about that. One of my biggest problems with all law is the fact that it's passed and then you're expected to follow it, but there is no place where you can go find out where it is or what it is.
Well, you can actually, you can look online if you do a Google search, and I'm not plugging Google, but if you do a Google search for RSMO, which is Revised Missouri State Statutes, it'll take you to a website. I believe it's www.mo.gov or something of that nature. And you can look up any law that's been passed in the state of Missouri.
Gotcha.
To include 571, which deals with unlawful use of a weapon, which also pertains to our CCW laws.
Okay.
So it's not easy, like you say, if you don't know to look up Revised Missouri State Statutes, it's probably going to be difficult for you to find. But if you'll contact one of your local law enforcement officers, they should be more than willing to provide you with that information.
Okay.
If they're an educated law enforcement officer, they might even be able to quote you those regulations and laws.
Gotcha. It sounds like we got another caller on. Come on in, caller.
I just I wanted to ask about, like, if you don't have a CCW license, and you got a like a pistol or a gun in your car, I mean, that's not illegal, is it?
No, sir, it is not.
I heard when they passed that CCW law that part of it was you could keep a pistol in your vehicle. You couldn't carry it around if you didn't have that CCW, but you could keep it in your car.
Well, you can keep it in your vehicle. That is correct. Now, Missouri is an open carry state. As long as there's not a local city ordinance against open carry, and the law does allow for that to take place in the state of Missouri. But out in the county, in cities that don't have those ordinances, then it's perfectly legal to carry that weapon out in the open.
Right.
But you are allowed by law, without a concealed weapons permit, to carry that firearm in your vehicle and it to be concealed in your vehicle.
Yeah, that's what my understanding was on it. Because I years ago I was in law enforcement my own self. I was a deputy in Ozark County. Okay. But I didn't even carry guns, when I was a deputy in Ozark County, just because, I wasn't like a head deputy or something. And, those was the guys, if you had some crazies or something, they'd go get them. Most of us guys on the reserve, we take deer out of fences, or neighbors spooked about something, they'd get down and see how things is going and all that. So, and like with just, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you about. I could probably, I would think, just strap on my sidearm, and as long as it's registered, I could walk around with it out in plain view. And like you say, unless there's a restriction in the spot that I'm in, that should be perfectly legal.
Well, I would agree with that. And now registration of a firearm is not required in the state of Missouri.
In fact, registration is not required in the federal United States of America. There is for the benefit of the listeners, there is no registration of firearms. The federal government is prohibited and barred from keeping one, although they do, and the states are barred from having a registration for individual firearms.
Well, what happened to the rule where when you buy a handgun, you have to register it at the sheriff's department in the county that you live in?
That's no longer true. They've changed the law, and you are not required to obtain a handgun permit in Missouri prior to purchase of a handgun. You can walk into any store, as long as you're not a felon and you fill out the right paperwork and pass, you are entitled to purchase a handgun without a permit.